Hello everyone, this is Venom Geek Media here, and today we are going to be continuing our Summer of Spaceships with a countdown of the top 5 spaceships in Doctor Who. Now, Doctor Who isn't really known for its spaceships, obviously, but there are some, and they are quite interesting designs. They're very different to a lot of other sci-fi ships, often, going much wilder in the designs. Very different and unconventional a lot of the time. So they're quite interesting to look at. So this is going to be a top 5 list. Obviously, we're not going to be including the TARDIS, because TARDIS would win. And we're only doing ships since 2005, so nothing from the classic series, though I will talk about some of these in reference to their appearance in the classic series. So, let's start with number 5, the Cyber Ship. This is really quite an interesting ship. I mean, I am admittedly a huge fan of the Cybermen. I really like the Cybermen. And I also really like the Cyber Ships. We don't really see them all too often. But I think it's important because they're an interstellar empire. They go around conquering and upgrading whole worlds, so they need ships. The ships we're shown we basically see them only in glimpses, but I do like them, and it's in A Good Man Goes to War, and Rory, asks the 12 Cyber Legion where is his wife, and you can see in the background the cyber ships, which are these very sort of long. Well, they're very oddly designed. They're quite long. They have these rotating wheels around them. I really like that look. I like that it's sort of in motion. I can imagine those as sort of annular engine units, which I know is kind of a theoretical idea in physics, for a form of propulsion. So I really like that, and because Cybermen are human point 2, or very like almost human point 2. So it makes sense that they kind of have something akin to our technology. So I really like that. I really like it's very simple, but very dramatic and very, again, like I say, unconventional. Which is why it earns number 5 on this list. Number 4, the Sycorax ship from Christmas Invasion. I don't really know where to start with this thing. I mean, in simply put, it's a huge chunk of rock, and that's not very interesting. But again, it's a huge, massive, flying asteroid. It's really quite a practical design for a spaceship. I can imagine that the Sycorax just found, it lying around in space, and just, hewn a ship out of it almost. I think it looks really, really cool. The fact that it covers most of London, it's just such an awesome sight that we're shown with it dominating the London skyline. Despite its very dull shape, it still looks, it makes sense for the Sycorax civilization, I think. It fits well with them. And also that entrance is just really cool, and I wish we saw more of that in like alien invasions and things. One question I constantly ask is, what would happen if an alien ship flew into the atmosphere? A huge alien ship, a huge amount of mass, entered a planet's gravitational field that wasn't there previously. You can guarantee there would, it would mess things up. Just by being there, and certainly one of those things would be smashing a bunch of windows. So for that reason, I really like it, in its sort of entrance. Now moving on to number 3, the Webster from the Runaway Bride. So this is the Empress of the Rachnos' personal ship. I really like this. It's beautiful and elegant and graceful and all those wonderful things. It looks Christmassy. At the same time, it looks really quite creepy, particularly when you work out that it's made of web, and you're thinking, oh, spiders. And the design makes sense because it's kind of a spider web in shape. The fact that it, then comes down and starts zapping people in London. It's a really, and this is just one ship. This is like the royal like command ship. Well, or most probably like an escape ship. There's probably the Rachnos ships were probably, huge, really cool, and I really like those sort of more elegant and floral styled spaceships, the ones that look more like flowers and very natural. And it's just a very striking, image to have, and it works. Again, it works really well with the Rachnos as we understand them, which is why I like it so much. It fits the theme of Christmas as well, and they didn't conflict. So that's number 3. Now moving into number 2, the Sontaran command ship, seen in the Sontaran Stratagem and Poison Sky. I really like this ship. We've seen Sontaran pods or attack ships or whatever they are before, and they make sense. They look pretty futuristic. They're basically just flying little spheres. Pretty nifty. And probably quite a practical space design, but the Sontaran command ship, now that is something else. It looks to me like a bit of a siege platform. You could imagine a whole blockade of these around an Rutan planet, and it looks really cool. It looks very spiky, but it's also quite a clean shape. It looks, everything about it just looks very kind of poised and menacing. But also quite graceful in a sort of quite gothic way with its tall height. And I like the features. I like that you have the pods on the side. I also like that we get a good sense of its scale. It's not huge, actually. And I also like that when it goes into attack mode, you see later when it goes into attack mode, and they're going to just obliterate the Earth. And that looks really cool. You can just all these weapons it's been bristling with has just been hidden underneath. I think that really works well with the design. So I really like that, and yeah, I thought it was an awesome ship with the Sontarans. So now we're going to go on to some honourable mentions. First one is Satellite 5. It was a reused location, very well designed. I really like some of the concept art more than the actual station, but I like the station as well. I think it's an iconic and important, location, and looks really cool. Tying into that is, of course, I have to mention the Dalek ships that we see first at the end of Bad Wolf and during Parting of Ways. These things look immense. They make sense for the Daleks, considering they're going to be rolling around on flat surfaces most of the time. I really like the design of the interior. And I like that they have those counter-rotating sort of domes on the bottom. And they're gold, and that fits well. They look like time warships. They look, levels above anything that anyone else would have. But it's a bit boring. It's just gold, and it's just a flying saucer when we come down to it. It looks great, but with all these other designs, the designers sat down and thought about it. I'm sure they did for the Dalek ship, but when they just go to flying saucer, when they've come up with some really weird and cool and wacky designs for these other less significant races, then why confine the most iconic of the villains to just a plain old flying saucer? I'm not hating it. I still think it's a really cool ship, but it just didn't have enough significance to put it in this top 5. Number 1, and this is probably going to take a lot of people by surprise, is the freighter we see in 42. You think, what? What ship is that? That's the one that was collecting fuel from the sun, that was alive. Now, I really like the idea of the living sun. That was actually really cool. even though the rest of the episode was alright. But I also really like the design of the ship. I really like, I think it says that they're in the 22nd century. And I like that kind of era of designs. Everyone seems to have a consensus that the 22nd century, you have a bit of industrial chic going on, and this certainly does. And I really like it because it carries it off. It's a well thought out and designed ship. The interior, again, fits with the outside. The outside is very, well, it's a combination. You have that sort of forward module which looks very dramatic and futuristic, and that I really like. And then you have the back section with the huge engines, and you have the beams that would be carrying cargo. I think it's a really clever, really cool design. I just love how dramatic and different it looks, whilst also looking relatable. It's tough to pull off human designed ships, particularly when we don't know what the future is going to be like. But I think that one looks really cool, and I think it very much fits the tone of the David Tennant series and that sort of design school that went along with it. So I really like this one. It's so unique and standout compared to, because a lot of the rest of the time, particularly with the Great and Bountiful Human Empire, but humans almost always seem to be using rocket ships. And I really like this freighter because it's not a rocket ship. It's a little bit different, and it's more space orientated. And it's got, its modern touches with the modern looking cargo pods and such. So for that reason, it's my favourite of the modern Doctor Who spaceships. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys think differently? Are there any others that you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.